In celebration of 10 years of Matrix Reimprinting, I am so excited to have Sasha Allenby with me today. Hi, Sasha.
Hello, Sharon. All right, darling. Really, really great to see you. I'm just even more excited to see your face as well. It's been a while.
Been a while. Sasha, you've had one of the most incredible journeys with EFT and Matrix Reimprinting, and it actually led you to writing a book, Matrix Reimprinting Using EFT, with Carl. And I know that you've written a few other books as well, but would you just share with us your beginning story, where you were at when you first discovered EFT and Matrix Reimprinting, and the transition that you've gone through to where you are now?
Of course. I knew you were going to ask me. And do you know what? It's really funny, Sharon. I have to really think hard about that story. And that's because it's not in my field anymore, if that makes sense. And that's the biggest compliment to EFT and Matrix that you can actually give. Because that whole framework, that story, that perception of the way I viewed reality was all that was in my field when I started out.
Yeah.
So, and I was kind of thinking, she's going to ask me where it started. And really, that's a big strain on my brain to go back there, because it's so it's another dimension or another reality.
Or another person even.
Another person, yeah. It's like 10 people ago. So it started out with chronic illness, chronic fatigue. And what I didn't know at the time, but I understand now, chronic trauma being at the center of that and really changing the way my physiology was showing up. So to start with, I had a central nervous system that was switched into fight and flight the whole time. Nobody could give me a physiological or a medical reason for that. I just was literally fight and flight 24/7, to the point where my body was full of acid. I couldn't take out all the things that was producing in my body, and was just in a constant state of chronic fatigue and exhaustion in that time. So I came to Matrix to solve the exhaustion, or EFT originally to solve the exhaustion, and knew I had to work with Carl, just above anybody else that was near me, knew that was the case. And really came to discover that it was nothing to do with exhaustion and everything to do with what the underlying patterns were that was actually creating the physiological condition. So huge learning curve, huge awakening to really seeing how much I was filtering the world through trauma, how much that was my perception of reality. And at the beginning of the journey of really understanding deeply how we can rewire our brain and our physiology to not only to just get back to health, but then a further stage from that to create and manifest whatever it is we can imagine. So in a nutshell, from disease to amazing manifestation. And you know what, Sharon, people say, I can't believe it's 10 years, it's gone so quickly. I feel like it's 7 lifetimes in that 10 years, I'm completely opposite. I'm it's only 10 years. It's amazing.
Excellent. And you have probably, as I said, one of the people that have gone through the biggest transformation, because you've gone from a state of, that physical health, that emotional health issues, into just being the most joyful person I know.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I think, that joyful person was always underneath there, but it was in conflict with being and processing the world through shed loads of stress, shed loads of fear, just a constant, an all-pervading fear that you don't even know is there, because it's so familiar to you. It's so how you process your reality, that when it's gone, it's oh, that's what it was. You didn't even recognize it. It was so integral, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. Just talking about this with Natasha Black today, where she was saying that she had no idea that she was in so much pain.
Yeah. It becomes normalized, and you don't understand that that's not someone else's perception of reality too. You just assume that everybody else has that same underlying a tension almost.
Yeah, absolutely. And didn't you have the label, as we call it, of bipolar as well? So you were having those highs and those lows?
Yeah, I did. And that resolved quicker than chronic fatigue with Matrix, to be honest. That was one of the first things. Obviously one of the things I wasn't expecting to resolve, because people tell you that these things like bipolar, that they're with you for life. So that was one of the first things that pretty much on the first training that I went to with Carl. We hit right on the trigger that was creating the mania, the trigger that was creating the depression, and very quickly that just dissipated to the point where you just kind of get the little, you know, the little highs and the little lows. But predominantly, my state is one of joy now. And I'm not going to say that I'm in one single mood all the time. If people tell you that, then they're lying, you know. But I think what these tools and techniques do, what Gary Craig really intended in the first place, is emotional freedom. It doesn't mean you're never going to have a single high or low again in your life. But what it means is you're going to have a normalized highs and lows kind of thing. You're going to have your up days and your down days, but they're not going to be chronic like they were with bipolar. You know, you're not going to be chronically up one day, chronically down the next. And so that's really like the leveling out and the way I experience that leveling out.
That's just amazing. And I know from, you know, us being friends for so many years now that working with people to help them discover their joy and their passion in life is something that's really close to your heart. So could you tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing now?
Sure, and it's really emerged actually and evolved out of the fact, like, for a couple of years, it's probably like 4 or 5 years, my main focus has been ghostwriting for entrepreneurs, change agents, thought leaders, some really beautiful people, some really big names, and really helping them get their message out. And as I worked more and more with like some of the leaders in the field, what I came to understand is that across the board, because our mission is so important, because of the work that we're doing is so important, then the joy kind of gets squashed out of that. And the mission just becomes like this. We were chatting about this on a personal level. The mission becomes so like central to everything that the joy like tends to get squeezed out. And so the work that I'm doing now has evolved into a brand called Joy Innovator. I'm working with thought leaders, change agents, some of the most phenomenal people that have got the most amazing message to share in the world, just really helping them to like put joy at the center of their workday and build the message, brand, or product from there, as opposed to like putting the mission at the center and then like slowly frazzling and burning out, which is, it's really common, especially in the state of like the current climate. It's a really common thing to just be kind of like burning at it 24/7. So like I've shifted the focus of a lot of the work now to really put joy at the center of the workday. That's the next book that I'm working on that's going to be coming out this year. Is called Joy Innovator, a new paradigm for heart-based leadership. So that's really where the passion is these days. Awesome. And if somebody wanted to join your program, your Joy Innovator program, then how would they do that? How would they find you? I've got a new program launching actually. It's probably going to launch in about the next 2 or 3 weeks for entrepreneurs, change agents, like therapists, practitioners, people who work with people and want to do so in a way that's like centered in their own heart, centered in their own joy. That program is starting at the beginning of May. It's launching in a couple of weeks, and you can find a bit more details on joyinnovator.com. That's where I'm operating from these days.
Awesome. And you're definitely somebody who has walked the path.
Oh, I would say so, yeah. You know, I wanted to say, like, for anybody that's doing this work and like working themselves, I would say that I went too far with the Matrix stuff on myself. You know, there were times I was doing it like 6 hours a day, and there was times I was doing it like literally like an obsession, because I was thinking there was somewhere that needs to be that we need to get. And I would say, like, really ground it in meditation, really ground it in like other practices that take care of the central nervous system and bring you back into balance. And don't see yourself as someone that's broken. If you see yourself as someone that's broken, you were constantly trying to fix where you're going. So that's how I've basically walked the path, you know, very much kind of like doing the deep work, grounding it in the stuff that keeps you in the present, and continuously like creating and manifesting and using tools and practices to create more expansion. I would say that's walking the path, I think. Definitely. Well-trodden path. So, Sasha, just to finish up here, if you could have a message for Carl, what would it be? I would say, obviously, a huge, great big thank you. I've probably thanked him to his face a million times. I'm sure he could hear it again. And I would say the tool, Carl, that you've created is phenomenal. Not just for dealing with trauma, but really for helping people to realize their full potential, for really helping them to expand into the full potential, and to see the places where they can grow into, and to really grow into that. So my message to you, Carl, is there is no way that I would be living in New York, running 2 companies with the love of my life, like living this fairy tale like New York life, if it wasn't for Matrix. So a massive, massive, huge thank you, and keep rocking, my friends. Don't give up. There's plenty of work to be done.
Awesome. And, you know, I can completely back you up, because I certainly wouldn't be doing the work that I'm doing today if it wasn't for Carl, and, you know, the amazing work that he's bringing to everybody. Just everybody I've interviewed has changed their life.
Yeah.
Completely changed their life. You know, their job, their partners, their health, everything. So.
And that's rare, you know. You don't get that with the average therapy. You don't get like a bunch of like very, like, you might get 1 or 2 exceptional success stories. You don't get a bunch of stories like the people that you're interviewing today. So that's super rare, you know.
Brilliant. Sasha, thank you so much for spending this time with us, and it's just so great just to connect with you again.
Oh, you too, love, and you as well, Sharon. You're doing freaking amazing work in the world. You did phenomenal work with that book. I know it's taking you from strength to strength, and I just want to wish you all the success as well, and just like keep seeing you growing and expanding, and what's next for Sharon, you know. I'm excited, really excited for you.
And if it wasn't for your love and your support with my book, then it would never have got out there. So big thank you to you for that too.
It's a big like stream of love.
Awesome. Thank you, my darling.
All right, sweetie. Keep rocking, darling. Thank you so much.
You too.
I'll see you soon. Big love. Cheers, Carl. Cheers. Bye-bye.